Welcome back, everybody, to Catching You. I'm your co-host, Rusty Ham. With me, my beautiful daughter, Lacie. Lacie, say hi. So, your college career is coming to an end. We've been talking about it for a year. So, recap on this last weekend. 2 weekends ago, you swept Boise to guarantee your spot into the conference or championship, or not the championship, but the playing game at least. Then you go into San Diego State on a high, I would guess, because you guys are playing well. Your pitching's doing well. Your defense, you guys ended up being first in both pitching and defense at the end of the week. Go in, lose 2-1, 4-3,
4-3.
4-3, all 1-run games, and yeah, so you get swept, which is okay. I mean, it's not okay, but they ended up being second place. They're a good team, so to compete, and you guys had a chance, obviously, in every game.
We still played good softball, defensive wise. No,
Well, the
like
first game was a solid 2-1.
first game was
Pitcher's
solid.
duel, great defense. Second game, a little sloppy, right? I think you gave up 4, but only 2 were earned. Last game, you came in. Actually, you lost 5-4.
4.
It was 4-4. You came in to close it out, and the right fielder just kind of threw it to nobody, and they scored a run anyway. So that got me thinking. So I did some stats, and we kind of did it off the air. So you normally have 22 conference games, right?
Mm.
So out of those 22 games, Lace, I don't know, and I think I told you, 8 of them were 1-run games.
And
Either
are these all losses?
No, that's what I was gonna say. Either you won the game or you lost the game. They were 1-runs. But what I'm saying is, I mean, I guess I could have done the losses, but it's just you're in each game is what I'm saying. Let's go back. Let's rewind. What were you predicted at the beginning of the year?
Dead last.
Dead last. And I tell people, I said it's you should have been predicted dead last. Your ERA last year was above a 5, I think, as pitching staff. Your offense, I don't think it was last, but it was near last. So
Wasn't
I can
good.
see whoever does this predictions is going, okay,
New coaching staff.
they're dead last in defense. They're near dead last in offense. So it just makes sense to predict you last. Now, we didn't think it was going to happen because we talked about it on episodes in the past where you got a new pitching coach and you loved her. She came in with a great philosophy. Nobody left. Nobody came in from transfer portal. And then you have some quality freshmen that are contributing, right? So you had everybody back. I think one left in the fall, but so nobody left, nobody came in, and you have some quality freshmen, and you have a brand new pitching coach. So it was just a matter of time before you guys kind of got in a groove, and you did. I mean, you guys struggled early in the year, right? I mean, you guys lost your first 5 games.
I think that happened my junior year too. Junior year, we went 0-5 the first weekend, but got mercied about, I think, 3 out of 5 of them. This weekend, I think we got mercied once, but lost all of them. Came back to the first Silicon Valley Classic the next weekend, won all 5.
Yeah, went 5-0. So you guys are 5-5. So we knew, and you guys, if you listen to other podcasts, it's the vibe was different, right? We knew the vibe was different. There was a better attitude. There was a better, because females, and this is what I've been told.
What
That
have you been told?
you guys, in order to play good, you need to feel good. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Feel good?
Yeah, you got to feel good in order to play good.
Do men have to feel like
No,
crap?
they need to play good to feel good. That's the adage.
Oh, I thought you were
I'm
talking about.
quoting people.
I thought you were referencing the quote like "look good, play good," because I feel like that's both men and women. But I mean, I guess I don't know. So you're saying men's sports, they play their sport and they play bad, then they feel bad about themselves. Well, I feel bad about myself if I play bad. Was it both
I'm
of them?
telling you what people say. It wasn't me,
Who's
but
people?
exactly. I sound like politicians.
Yeah, you
People
do.
tell me all the time that that in order for women to play good, they need to feel good about themselves. So anyway, that could be true with your team. I mean, you guys got a great pitching coach. She had a plan, right? She had a strategy. She also knew most of the hitters because she pitched against most of those hitters last year. And you got a good hitting coach. He seems like a solid dude. He has a great attitude. So I think maybe it rings true that because you guys kind of are feeling good about the team, you guys start playing better. I don't know. Who knows? Let's go. You predicted last, but when you and then here's the thing too is in your past 3 years, you guys would actually do fairly well in the preseason and then conference. Especially you, I think you would do well in the preseason, then conference you get lit up. But this year was different, right? I think you started to feel like you did when you were on Batbuster Bracamonte, where
Mhm.
you just know going on the mound, I'm gonna shove it down these guys' throat, and they're not gonna score on me. And if they do, it's gonna be a lucky hit or something like that.
I feel like has been the story most conference. Because I think Colorado State was a good start for me,
Mhm.
but it was like, all right, but it was still not that good.
Right.
Still won, but not that good. But I think Fresno was kind of like, oh, people can't hit me. Like, it's possible.
I keep getting
Especially,
pop-ups. I keep getting pop-ups. That's kind of cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank
no, your
goodness.
strikeouts were down. Like you're not getting a lot of swing and misses, but you're getting a lot of, you know, really weak ground balls and a lot of weak pop-ups, which is a good sign that your drop and your drives are in good spots. So fast forward to the conference. Like I said, 8 were one-run games, either win or loss. 6 were two-run games, either win or loss. I think most of those 2 runs were. I think one of them was Boise State, where you guys won 4-2, and then the other 5, I think, were against Nevada and Fresno State, where it was like you guys lost 2-0, 3-1. So these are competitive games. And then, so that's 14 out of 22 games that was either a 1 or a 2-run game,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy, right? That's like 60% of your games were super competitive, right?
To see, yeah. And like, well, however many losses are in that column, how one run or two runs could have made us one of the most dominant teams in the conference.
True. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it before. You're 1 in ERA, 1 in defense, but last in offense. And we said it a couple weekends ago. They're not out there. You're not out there to throw balls. They're not out there to strike out, or they're not out there to hit into a ground ball with runners on second base, 2 outs. They're not looking to do that. So they're not doing it on purpose, right? It's just,
Yeah. Do you, I was thinking about the other day. Do you remember this was a quote in travel ball that we always heard that offense wins games, but defense wins championships. In this case, in the conference case.
well, you're in the conference tournament, so you never know.
Okay.
And listen, 2 years ago when you guys made the conference championship, there was no way you were beating San Diego State. They were just too
No.
good. You know what I'm saying? You beat the teams. There was probably a couple. Boise State. That I think that was a huge upset. But once you got into San Diego State, it was just like, let's hope. It was more of a hope because JU was, she was pitching like you threw innings, but she was like the workhorse. I mean, you got to agree that she was the main workhorse, right? But now you and me are like splitting time. I mean, she's getting more innings, but you kind of have that rhythm between the two of you. So, and you can beat San Diego State. I mean, you guys lost by 1 each one, and you can beat Nevada. I mean, those Nevada games were super close.
Like San Diego was the only team that we fully lost to.
Yeah.
All
So you
con
get to the conference championship. I think the odds are a lot higher than it was a couple years ago, right? Obviously, I'm looking ahead. You got to beat Fresno State. So on that note, you guys play Wednesday, 6 p.m. against Fresno State, which is a good, nice little first gamer. That's a playing game, right? And if you win, you got San Diego State on Thursday. So that should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think, well, just history-wise, Fresno State is SJSU's rival. So any like football game versus Fresno State is a really big one because we like battle for like the Valley Trophy or something. I
Right.
couldn't tell you. But I know it's a rivalry, and in the past few years, I haven't really felt that like rivalry between us. Like when you feel the rivalry and every time you play. And for the past, I mean, I've always thought it was like ours was Nevada. We always like battled against Nevada. This year it's Fresno. Hands down Fresno.
That's good. And that's your first round game. So that should be.
We
Do you know
knew.
you knew it was going to be Fresno State?
Like we lost that series and we were huddled like we were stretching after the game, after every game, and we all said, "Watch, we're going to get them first round. Just watch."
That's good.
And we knew, and we knew it.
Now, I'm curious if they think that you guys are their rivals. That would be the interesting thing.
Well, they've gotten into it with almost every team in the conference this year. So they could say that everyone's their rival.
When's our rival? Yeah.
Like I'd say we had pretty good competition with like every team that we played against. The last game against San Diego State was a bit iffy with everything going on. But I mean, and they had hecklers, whatever. But Fresno's a whole nother deal. It's not even compared to that.
Yeah. All right, Lace. Let's pivot since it is technically your last week as a collegiate athlete, which is kind of crazy to hear and say. We do have a lot of young listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Rewind a little bit, just kind of reminisce. Just I don't know what your thoughts on, because again, college is a lot different from just 4 years ago, right? With NIL, with transfer portal. Transfer portal was kind of getting crazy your freshman year, but it wasn't a whole lot because there was COVID, right? So I don't know if people were transferring just because of. I think people were transferring because of COVID restrictions, and some states weren't as saying it was more political as far as people transferring, not necessarily because of coaches or NIL, but some advice for some upcoming girls.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that will kind of jar a little conversation as far as what they should be looking for, mindset wise.
Like in a program?
Yeah, in a program, like when you were down on yourself, some techniques on to get out of that funk. We did talk about journaling and stuff like that, but just some advice for the young ones.
I would say my biggest is like be prepared for what you're getting into. You play a bunch of games during the summer, but you get to college and a double header just sounds exhausting because the whole process of like we'll get to the field for a double header, say the games are 12-3. I'm getting to the field at 8 a.m. and not leaving until 8:30, 9 p.m. So it's a grind that I mean, I'm thankful that I had that kind of gritty mentality in travel ball, and like the Batbusters really prepared me for that. And even like going through Athletics Mercado as well, ending with Tony Bracamonte, probably the best decision we could have made. But it's a whole nother beast, I feel like. And we talk about like mental health and all of that stuff. Like now you have these classes on top of that are much different from high school. You got to stay on top of it. Like the classes are optional. Like some classes are optional and they don't take attendance. They don't, I mean, some people grade at participation, but most of the college classes are like attendance. You can show up, you can not, but really depends on how you feel and how well you want to do academically. And then with travel ball, you're practicing Saturday, Sunday, maybe going to lessons once or twice a week. When I kid you not, 4 or 5 hours every single day. Because I'm going to add treatment on top of that, going to get your treatment from your athletic trainer. That's another 30 minutes to an hour on top of your 3-hour practice and your hour of weights in the morning, depending on what program you choose, and that's sort of a similar schedule. Some people have weights, class, and then practice at night, and then you don't get home until 8 p.m. And now you have all this homework, and you still have to shower, you still have to do laundry, and guess what? You're traveling the next day, and you're waking up at 6 a.m. to get on a plane. And I'm in a conference where we don't travel very far. Imagine girls in the Big 12, ACC, SEC, like the teams that are in the ACC now or Big 10 or Big 12 from California flying 7 hours the other way.
Yeah.
And then they got class on Monday.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that's kind of just a snippet of what it looks like. And I would just say, like, you got to be prepared and you got to be mentally ready to kind of go into that environment. And then, like, when you're looking for a program, because mine was pretty fast, like, got a word with Tammy, got a few calls, had a little video call of the campus, and I committed. I didn't really have that time, especially because it was my senior year, to, ask other athletes what they think of the school, ask the girls on the team what they think of the program, what's a day in the life, what is it like, what is college life like, how do they help you get into careers, like what does that look like? I didn't really have time to do that, kind of just winged it a little.
Yeah, we showed up and Bo walked us around for like 30 minutes and then we're like, okay, see you later.
I mean, it was really quick for me, but I mean, I was running out of time a little bit. And that was due to COVID. So now I think the recruiting process is back on track a little bit more. Just having, like, reaching out to people, making sure that this is a program that you want to go to, especially you got to make sure that they have your major. I mean, if you want a student body, maybe like if they have a football team or not, because that football kind of drives the student body, students like in a lot of ways. And that's something that I wanted, was like I don't know, football school, because that creates student culture and all of that stuff. And I mean, you got to know what you're getting into, because I mean, like you said, the transfer portal is pretty hot right now, and you don't want to go in questioning, do I want to go here? I want people to be fully set. Like you've said before, it's a contract. It's a 4-year contract. And that's what you're signing up for, basically. So
It's a yearly contract, actually.
it is
Because
a yearly contract.
at any point at the end of the year, they can say, but they
Yeah.
usually don't, right? They usually don't. You said it feels like a job sometimes, right? Was that accurate to
You're an
say?
employee.
You're an
You are
employee.
an employee to the school. And like, if you're wearing anything, say for me, San Jose State related, and you're out in public, anything can happen. We've had emails of pictures of us sent to the our AD, of us in the airport. And it's easily, you can look up SJSU athletic director email right there online, and they just sent that picture to our AD.
Yeah.
Like, it's that easy for you to slip up, especially like you're representing something and you're under contract, and it's a daily job. Like, I had set alarms on my freaking Alexa because she knew my schedule every day.
Right. So let's talk about the recruiting part, because what I wrote down here is I was kind of jotting down some notes while you're talking, and we talked about it all the time. The organization you were in, the teams you played for, right? Because it depends on the team you're playing for. Because you can be a bat buster, but not be on a team that's like highly recruited, right? Because there's plenty of bat buster teams out there. It's almost becoming like the firecrackers. You talk about being on the firecracker, and it's like, okay, if you're not on Rico's, then and now it's become Mercado too, right? Mercado's starting to go across the country, and if you're not on his team, or Greg's team. And in your case, if you're not on Stith or Campbell's team, the likelihood of you getting recruited to a big school, and big meaning the team that you see on ESPN in the College World Series, typically in the regionals, right? The super regionals. And I think that's where girls, they get caught up in that. They're like, I want to go to that school, right? And they're 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And so there's a couple of things as advice as a parent is be realistic. Number one, like, um, yes, it's, you dreamt to go to Arizona. That was kind of your big school. You dreamt to go to Oregon. You dreamt to go into, these big schools. But at some point we needed to take a step back and say, okay, I'm only throwing 58 miles per hour and I'm 14 years old, right? 15 years old. At that point, it's like, even Campbell said that. He's like, she's just not throwing hard enough. I don't know if I told you that, but it was in Colorado. He pulled me aside and said, she's not throwing hard enough to get like looked at these big schools. And
Because you
so
have
we
to hit
just got,
like a certain number by a certain age, and then they start looking at you. Like
yeah,
what would you say, like 60, 61, 62 by sophomore year?
yeah, you gotta be topping. I would say even faster than that. I think that, because teams will go, okay, well, if you're 65, if you're throwing hard now, we can always work on your technique and get you up to the upper 60s. But if you're 58, it's going to be like, okay, well, her top speed, and it's true. Your top speed now as a senior, after all these years, you're topping 64, 65, right? You top 67 a couple times at Fresno, but so, so you got to be realistic. You got to like, okay, if I'm not hitting this speed at this age, then I need to be looking elsewhere, meaning I need to be looking mid-major. I need to be looking maybe D2, maybe some D3. And those colleges are starting to get money now because of the NIL and all that kind of stuff. So my point is it's good to have goals of wanting to go to Oregon, Florida, Oklahoma, all these schools that you're going to see in the super regionals. But it's about your experience. It's about what you were saying is get an education, love the program. You've had some ups and downs, but you didn't leave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to my advice is just be realistic, and don't be set on just a super regional team. Look at all your options locally, across the nation. If you want to live, if you're out in the East Coast, and you want to live in the West Coast, look at those colleges that fit you, fit your personality, and fit your education, because that's what you're going there for, is your education. It's not like a college basketball player who would go to Duke just for 1 year because he knows he's going to the NBA the next year, right? He's going to Duke because he's going to be nationally recognized, all year. He's going to go to the March Madness, and then he's going to be gone, just like the Fog guy in Duke. He knew he wasn't going to stay at Duke, but he went to Duke because it's a well-known organization. Softball's a little different. I mean, yes, they're starting to get paid now, which is good. I think it's healthy that these girls get tapped in to start making some money. However, there's a fine line to transferring to get that extra buck, right? As good as Kennedy is, how much did she, she probably made a lot more going to Texas Tech if she would have stayed at Stanford. For those that are wanting to move just for, maybe another $100,000, who am I to say? But that could change their lives. So maybe that is a good move for them. But it's starting to. I don't know what your opinion is. It's starting to taint it a little bit. It's not.
Yeah. Kennedy, she's hitting there too. Like she's hitting bombs at Texas Tech. So
Yeah. So
who
is
knows who knows if at Stanford they're like, you're not hitting. What if
yeah,
she
Jordy
loves you?
Ball too. Yeah, Jordy Ball. They're like, Oklahoma, you're not hitting. We have enough hitters.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
that makes
sometimes
sense.
Jordy Ball would hit. but not as like she's in the lineup at Nebraska.
Yeah.
And
Batting first and hitting home runs.
so, I mean, if that's something they really love, like hitting and pitching and all that stuff, that's a solid reason to transfer. But then obviously there's people on social media that love to, this is why, and she wants money and blah, blah, blah.
I get it. Yeah, and Coach Candeo, he was on another podcast I was listening to, and he says he loves it. He loves it. He wishes he says his girls back in the day deserved it. You know, a Jenny Finch back in the day probably would have made a ton of money through
Yeah.
NIL, right? But then he says he wants it to be careful that we're not chasing that. You know, we're only transferring because I want the money. Right, because now it becomes now you're a professional, right? Now you're acting like you're a professional, and you're still a collegiate athlete. Uh, I don't know. You're not. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
I wasn't.
But we do. But our point is we're warning the next generation. Things are changing. So what do you got going on after? So you're graduating on the 21st, cum laude.
Yes. Cum laude.
And what does that mean, cum laude?
With honors in Latin.
With honors in Latin, and you have to have a 3.6
Over 3.5.
over a 3.5 in your college education. That's awesome. Congratulations on that. So you're going to be a psych major and a kinesiology minor, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. And so that's on the 21st. 22nd is your friend's graduation?
3rd. Morning of the 23rd.
Morning of 3rd. And then what are you doing on the 20th?
Well, actually, that night, the 23rd, I hop on a flight to Puerto Rico, and then I play 3 games on Saturday.
Well, you might not pitch all 3 games. You might pitch one of the
Oh, no.
3 games.
Well, they're talking about me hitting, so who knows? Who knows?
Really? You're going to hit?
They asked me if I wanted a face shield on my helmet.
You're like, yes. How cool is that?
And then, well, last week, they let the pitchers get some reps off BP, and I'm just rolling over every freaking ball. Like,
You don't remember your lessons from when you're 12 and 13?
no.
Anyway. And then after, so you do that in the summer, which is cool. You're going to be in Puerto Rico. You're going to be staying with the girls, right, in apartments or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then come home end of July?
First weekend of August?
First weekend of August?
Yep,
Hang out with us a couple weeks. And then what are you off to?
Australia, hopefully.
What? To Australia? Unbelievable. For about a full year, right? Almost a full year, like 10 months.
Yeah, because then I'm going to come back and get my master's somewhere. And those applications are due by the end of the year.
And what I heard through the grapevine is that they are desperately looking for grad assistants that can pitch. So you are a high commodity as a grad assistant.
I mean, it just really depends on the amount of money that they're able to give me. You know, like.
But I just said you're a high commodity, so I'm sure that
Right.
whoever's looking for you, if they can get a grad assistant that can pitch, they'll give you money.
And I'll apply to a good amount of schools that I'm looking at right now because I have to get in first. Because I'm not going to be an athlete, so it's not like priority registration. Like I think I applied to San Jose State pretty late, and they're like, you just need to let Lacie in, so she can play softball here. But a GA is different. Like, I mean, I guess a school could be like, well, we need her as a grad assistant, so like let her in. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know if it's the same.
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Neither. But, you know, possibly not in California.
Well, you got some exciting things coming up. We're turning that page. I can't wait to catch you in Puerto Rico, meaning not catch you, but catch you doing it. Catch you doing your thing in Australia. catching you doing your thing, your masters. But by the way, this is our 75th episode. Crazy. And we just hit the 10,000 download mark, which is crazy too. So congratulations on that. Hopefully we're given.
To you.
Well, thank you.
Well,
But
hopefully
we've been given some good nuggets to the people out there on our journey, and that every journey is different, right? It's not the same. Everybody has their own journey, but as long as you have a certain path, maybe some of your experiences and your trials and tribulations could help somebody as they're coming up through those same trials and tribulations, and maybe they can make those adjustments earlier rather than later like we did.
Yes.
But I love you, sweetie, and I will see you Wednesday night in a couple days.
Yes.
Good luck to your team. Love you, sweetie.
Love you.
Bye, baby.